Alright, so the Bond Torture Kill Killer. I watched a little documentary. I don't remember what media I found it on. Well, I know where I found it. I don't know where it's being played. If I'm not mistaken, at the beginning they said Netflix, but I procured a copy somewhere else. But anywho, I'm gonna talk about this little documentary. I don't plan to be before you long. I felt like giving y'all a video. So I watched this, took a couple notes. And before I get into it, let me go ahead and say, for those of you who are new, who are popping in specifically for this video, maybe it's something you looked up and here I am. I do not do things the right way, quote unquote. I say things the way I say things. So if I mispronounce a word, generally I'm doing it on purpose. I will be calling people Mr. Policeman instead of calling his name because I just don't have the time to write everybody's name down. It's a job for me. So if that makes you, aggravated, because I know how a lot of people like things to be done a specific way, I'll never be that girl. So for the people who are, new here, have never seen what I got going on, it's not going to be a true crime podcast type beat. This is just me talking about what I'm talking about. So we begin at the beginning. It's the BTK daughter, it's little BTK. And it just starts off with her saying the police came to the door and told her father was the BTK killer. That's uncomfortable, but okay. Then she goes on to say she thought it was just the 10 victims. Unfortunately, they think it may be more than that. But from what I gathered, he only fessed up to the 10. She says she wants to help find any additional people who were murdered by her father, but it's traumatizing. And I get it. Girl, do what you can and don't do what you can't. Okay, so he was arrested in 2005. I didn't realize it was that recent. It just always gave 80s to me, but he was actually killing it in the 70s. I think a little bit in the 80s, a little bit in the 90s, and then got arrested in 05. I didn't know much about this one, and what I learned today, I just don't like him. I mean, we knew I wouldn't like him, but get out my face. So he was arrested in 05. His daughter says Larry King, Oprah, Diane Sawyer all wanted to interview the family and they declined. Which, because later she's going to actually go on the media circuit. I mean, I know it was fresh at the time. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving it too much. But her name is, I think, Carrie. I'll be in and out of calling her a name. She said she spent 10 years indoors writing and didn't want to speak about it, didn't want to think about it. She just was indoors, just locked in there. And honestly, I probably would be too. It don't take much for me to lock myself in the house. Finding out my daddy killed at least 10 people and was still my father, just sitting up in my house. I'd lock myself away as well. But she decided to come out of her hibernation when her husband told her to come look at the TV. And it was Stephen King who said he wrote a book and a movie based on the BTK killer or killings. It was something to do with the husband doing the killings and the wife not knowing. Something like that. But daughter says she hated it. She hated Stephen King. She hated her father. Just hatred. And again, I get it. Girl, I would hate too. I hate the man and he ain't my daddy. But then we start talking about the killing. In 1974, according to the daughter, he was laid off at the end of 1973. And then in early 1974, he killed 4 of the 7 family members of the Otero family. The oldest son came home from school and found both parents and 2 siblings no longer, for this world. They were tied up. He tried to untie them. He tried to go get some help, but it was too late. So the police come in. The family was of Latin descent. So the police are like, oh, this must be drug related. This must be, some sort of retaliatory killing because people of color couldn't possibly just be murdered unjustly. That's never been heard of. That really irked me. Talking about, oh, we thought it was drug related, but they didn't say we thought it was drug related because these people are of color, which is what they were trying to say. Say it with your chest. But anyway, it flips back and forth. So at this portion, the daughter goes back. This is in Wichita, Kansas. So she's going back, to her old city, her old house, all of that. I don't know why she had to do that because we didn't get much out of it. it, but a documentary is a documentary. So she goes back. She's back at home. She's driving through the city and saying this is very PTSD inducing. And again, I don't know why she's taking us through the city. Like, you could have just shown us, video of the city without her having to go back there. But okay, she's driving through and she's remembering her family, her father, and how he was fun and the mama wasn't, and they just had a wonderful time. He built them a tree house and he was a good dad. He was a scout leader or something. Like, he was T, according to her. Then they go on to say that BTK and Mrs. TK, I don't think I ever said her name, so Mrs. TK it is. They met in church in 1970 and it was love at first sight, according to the daughter. She said they were married 9 months later. So she goes on to say she was a daddy's girl, and the neighbor says he was just a normal dad. He was a dog catcher, so they called him the dog catcher. It was all just very mundane. Like, it just gave, let's just tell basic things about this man. But okay, there's a man here from the newspaper and we're gonna see him throughout, but he has a band-aid just on his head, and get that off your head. I mean, I'm sure you have an injury, but like a hat, a newsboy, you're a newsman, so something, because the band-aid was so distracting. I cannot tell you a thing that man said, because every time he was on the screen, I'm just looking at the band-aid, and it was just two big band-aids layered atop his head on the left-hand side, and I'm just like, what happened? Did BTK beat you upside your head before the interview? Like, what happened? I'll never know. And I wish he would have just addressed it and just been like, hey, I'm sitting down for this interview, but, I tripped tying my shoe and fell head first into the cabinet or something. He's from the newspaper and he says that they didn't know everything at the news station or whatever. The police weren't telling them everything. And it's like, that's how police investigations always go. Like, when they don't have the killer, they always withhold something, like, from the masses. I don't know why he was gagged by that, but that's just how it always is. Anywho, then the police chief man comes up directly after him and is like, well, yes, we kept details to ourselves because that's how the police work. Like, and then we flip back to October of 1974. This was really kind of random, but it goes into why he sent his first letter. So in October of 1974, they arrested the Sebring brothers. And the police officer is just like, we arrested the Sebring brothers. And they did, crimes against children, basically, is what he was trying to say. And it was just very random. And he was like, they admitted to the killings. Why? What's that about? Like, I never understood why people pretend to be a serial killer. Like, I already don't know why serial killers kill serially. But then I don't know why people turn around and just be like, yes, that's me, Miss Serial Killer, come arrest me. Like, I'm just not understanding what that's about. But anyway, that confession prompted the first BTK killer letter. And the letter is like, hey, the divas you have locked away now, they didn't do it. I did it. And he was like, I want to save you from wasting your time and the taxpayers' resources with this investigation. It's not them. Like, why are you writing this letter? Why are you trying to save them resources? You just want to go to jail. It's giving you just want to go to prison. And I'm not understanding why so many people in this story just want to go to jail. Because why do the brothers want to go to jail? Why is everybody just trying to go to jail? Whatever. But yes, in the letter, he was like, they didn't do it. I did it. And then there was a PS at the end of the letter that says, since S criminals do not change their MO or by nature cannot do so, I will not change mine. And it's like, okay. And then he's like, the code word for me will be bind them, torture them, KILL them, BTK. If you see it again, like, you'll know he's at it again. And it'll be on the next victim. And the documentary never went back and said whether it was on the next victim or not. Was he like putting symbols on these people? I'm not getting it. I don't understand. Wichita Police Department sent out alerts to other states, other cities, trying to see if they had anything like similar. And they didn't. So they were like, we guess he's one of us. Like, he would have told you that if you just waited for another letter. But hey. Then we swoop back to another crime. March 1977. Shirley Relford. She was a mom of 3 and she was homesick, and this is a different time because at first I was like, what? But this was 1977. This is how people rolled. She was homesick and she sent her 5-year-old to the store to get her some medication. On the child's way back home, he was confronted by a man, and Mr. Police Chief says, well, we don't know what discussion they have, but somehow the BTK fella gained entry into the house. But Wikipedia says that he walked up to the child and asked him, like showed him a picture of Mrs. TK and daughter TK and was like, do you recognize them? And the child was like, oh yeah, that's my mom and my sister. So then BTK went in there and hurt the mother, onto the upper room. And it's just like, so you wanted to harm someone that looked like your wife and your child? That paused me. I was paused. I was like, what is this? But whatever, we moved on. And the police say now that they believe this could be connected to the Otero case, but they decide not to make a direct correlation until they're certain. And it's just like, he's telling you his modus operandi. He's telling you what he doing. He telling you it's me. But everybody's like, oh, well, we don't know. We're not sure. He literally just like, yeah, so I'm finna go stab and kill, wrap a pair of pantyhose around somebody's neck. I'll, send y'all the letter next Tuesday. And the police are just like, well, we don't know. We're not sure. That irked me. But anyway, we move on to December of 1977. And there's another grave harming from the BTK, obviously. And he calls from a phone booth and is like, hey girls, it's me. Nancy Fox is no longer for this world. If you'll just go by her house and get her, because she's gone. And I'm just like, this man is writing letters. He's calling. Like, get this man. Like, hello? I just feel like if somebody had communicated with him and just said, hey, BTK, can you just send us a letter telling us who you are? He probably would have been like, oh yeah, it's me, Dennis Rader. Like, they really were like, I can't find him. I don't know if this is a correlation. He's telling you everything you need to know. Anyway. Apparently in Nancy Fox's no longer with usness and in the Otero case, he had cut the phone lines. That's rude. Especially if you were going to call and tell them you did it anyway for Nancy. You just cut the phone line for no reason. You could have saved yourself a quarter and called, let her call herself. But hey, at this point, the police are finally they decided the cases are related. Oh wow, you really did some great police work there. This man is literally telling y'all, when you find them, they're me. Like, whatever. And then the police officer, Mr. Chief, he got real dramatic and he was like, and that set the investigation off for a serial killer. Like, the pause just irked me. Everybody wanted to be so dramatic in this. Mr. Police Chief and then Lady News is coming in a little bit. And everybody wanted to be so dramatic. Everybody relax. Anywho, February 10th, 1978, Mr. Police Officer gets a call, or Mr. Police Chief gets a call from Mr. Newspaper asking him to come look at a letter. And he does. The letter is basically like, actually before we even get there, Mr. Newspaper is like, I'll give you the letter if you come on the news tonight. Mr. Newspaper, I will arrest you. Like, you're interfering with an investigation. I will take you to jail. Don't play barter with me. But no, Mr. Chief was like, yeah, I'll just go on there. No worries. Everybody relax. Everybody stop, actually. At this point, the letter was obviously the BTK. And he's like, how many people do I have to KILL before I get my name in the paper or some national attention? And it's like, stop. Stop. And for those who don't know me, I know it's, spelled with the 2 L's back to back. I paused because YouTube liked to play. So then somebody, I don't even remember who it was, got down to the documentary, hyping up Mr. Police Chief, talking about he's like a dog with a bone. They say that about every police officer in every true crime documentary. Just like they say when somebody is killed, they lit up a room. I be telling my friends all the time, if I get murdered, don't be in my documentary talking about I lit up a room and I was just the sunshine of everybody. Like, no, I'm ornery. Get on the documentary and tell the people the truth. Be for real. Anyway, but yeah, they're like, once he gets on the track, he won't be derailed and yada yada. And BTK says he killed 7 people in one of the letters and he won't name them. He won't name the 7th person. But the people are thinking it's Catherine Bright, and it was. I was wondering why they were skipping her story, because I cheated and looked at the Wikipedia so I could make sure I had the names of the victims correct. I don't care about the police or the rest of them, but I wanted to make sure I got the names of the victims right. And it said, right after the Otero family, Catherine Bright, and I'm like, they went from the Oteros to Shirley Relford, but Catherine was in between it, so I was trying to figure, why did they skip that? It's just because at this point in, the timeline, they did not know. But Catherine, God rest her, she passed. But that story is crazy. It was Catherine and Kevin. Kevin is her brother. She was coming home from college, I think they said. And usually she came home alone, but tonight her brother was with her. They walk in the house. BTK is there. He has a GUN, on the brother. And they didn't say this in the documentary, but according to Wikipedia, the brother was powed in the forehead and in the face. And then he got up and ran to get help. How are you powed in the forehead and you getting up to do anything? Because let me tell you, if I get powed in my forehead, I'm down. I'm gone. There's no more. You'll never see me again, except in my casket, because I'm out. I'm not going to fight nothing. I was powed in my forehead, like my brain. Hello? But he lived, child. And he's in the hospital, and the police are trying to get a description. And Mr. Police Chief says Kevin's description was pretty generic. Basically, he couldn't help us. Need I remind you, he was powed in the face twice. Forehead, and I think the Wikipedia said, above his lip. Powed. Boom. Pop. In the face. Twice. And you talking about, he couldn't help us. He told you the man was white. I'm looking at the sketch right now. He got a little piece of a mustache. That's something. Now you're not looking for a person of color unjustly. It's something. Give Kevin some credit. Hello? Anyway, we back to the daughter. She goes back to her home. And there's no home. It's a lot. Just a leveled patch of grass. And she says they leveled it so they wouldn't sell parts of the house on eBay. The folks be on eBay just selling and buying anything. Stop this. At once. Why are you on eBay ripping off pieces of BTK's house and selling them down to the... And who's buying that? I just don't get it. And she's walking all around the home and she's like, this used to be the garden. This used to be the walk path. And this was the tree and do-do-do-do. And then she's like, he planted grapes over here. The grapes were one of his crazier ideas. Ma'am, I think... one of his crazier ideas might have been the murders, the B, the T, and the K. But hey, everybody has their own perception of what crazy is to them. To me, it would be, unaliving multiple people. Serially, if you will. But to you, it's the grapes. And hey, I understand this is hard to grasp, but baby, you gotta grasp it. You got to. And she's talking about how this is something hard for her to reconcile, and they're showing wedding videos of him walking her down the aisle and all this other little stuff. And I'm just looking at the wedding videos he really was just bald in the middle with hair on the sides at the wedding. I would demand that my father either go bald or get a jet black 40-inch bust down wig to be at my wedding. Don't come in here with the scoop. You're not George Jefferson. Stop. Don't look like that. Looking like Stan from the Golden Girls. Be so for real. I don't know if y'all can hear, but there's a train hollering. Mind you, it was hollering before I started the video. And I'm like, let me wait for it to stop. And now she want to come back and scream again. Girl, stop. Anyway, speaking of hollering, while they are at where the house used to be, a woman walks by and the daughter is like, is she taking pictures? Please don't let her, be taking pictures of me. And they're like, no, she's not. She's cool. She just walked by. But then all of a sudden, as the daughter is leaving the property, the lady just started hollering. And she's like, she doesn't have to deal with this every day. We do. And I'm like, what? I guess maybe she's talking about people coming to the neighborhood to see, what was going on. But why are you hollering? And why are you hollering at the child? Go see if you can give visitations and, holler at him. Because the child didn't do it. But hey, whatever. And then I think it was the policeman, says Carrie, being the daughter, got a gig she didn't sign up for by being the daughter of BTK. And it's like, yes, but also she be doing, the news circuit. So, because Carrie got 2 siblings. We don't know them. They're not here. So it's like, yes, she didn't sign up to be his daughter, but she did sign up to be the face of the family. So, sorry to her, but, Then she goes and sits with the Osage Police Department, and she actually tells us this was happening before she was born. The last letter from the BTK was sent on her first birthday. So, she really ain't had nothing to do with this. Like, really. I don't know why they treat her. I mean, I guess people don't know her age. But, like, she wasn't riding shotgun like Miley Cyrus and Beyonce. She was a baby. Leave her alone. But anywho, she tells us that BTK said having kids slowed down his murders. And I should not laugh. But I did laugh. Because what do you mean? Like, please, not this. I really would have done so many more deaths if I did not have those children. Terrible. Like, please. Anyway, we skip to January 15th, 2004. It would be the 30-year anniversary of the Otero murders, which means, dang, it's been like 50-some years now. Good Lord. It's the 30-year anniversary. They still haven't caught him. They run some news ads saying 30 years ago today, the Otero family was brutally massacred in their homes. All of that. A police officer says they thought he was either in jail, dead, or out of the area. But no, he was just raising his kids and down to the church. And then all of a sudden, lady news anchor Susan Peters is here. And she was so dramatic. So dramatic. And so, like, asking and answering questions that we already knew the answer to. Because she's like, BTK reappeared because nobody was talking about him. Well, yes. Yeah, he was telling y'all in his letters, like, fame, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna learn how to fly. Hi, I see it coming together. People will see me and cry. Fame. He was telling y'all in the letters. He was telling y'all, like, yes, notoriety, I would like. So, I don't know. Anyway, the man, after the 30 years, the man sends a letter from Bill Thomas Kilman. And if that's not something I would do, it's just like, when I see T.I.'s initials and my brain immediately goes, oh, that's Timothy Irene. Like, one thing I'm gonna do is if somebody's name is initials, I'm giving it a name. Like T.I., Timothy Irene, even so far as a full name, like Tyler Perry. That's Tyler Andrea Ann Perry. So yes, Bill Thomas Kilman, that sent me, I'm not gonna lie, because I would do that. But yeah, he sends a letter. And it's a victim's driver's license. And they didn't even know he was the perpetrator of that crime. And everybody's like, no, not as him. But it was. So we skip on to March of 2004. And the FBI has finally arrived. Mind you, it's been 30 years. And BTK says victim number 8 was... Okay, so bear with me. Her first name is Vicky. Her last name... Because the newspaper and the lady saying it versus what the documentary showed as her name, totally different things. So, it was spelled, by the documentary, it was spelled Wegale. And then in the newspaper and the news anchor, they were saying Wergly. And there was like Weegly, Waggly, Wergly. I don't know. God bless, God rest. Vicky is what we're going to call her. And he says, hey, yes, I, did what needed to be done for Vicky. And here are some pictures of the crime scene. The police did not take pictures of the crime scene with her body there because they rushed her to the hospital before pictures could be taken of her body. So they like, oh yeah, that's him. He did it. Mind you, he was telling y'all the whole time he did it, but hey. Okay, so Stephen Relford, who was the 5-year-old of Shirley Relford, who was the one who, sent Stephen to the store to get some medication or whatever. Stephen is here. And he doesn't look well. He looks like, at this time, hopefully he's doing better, but at this time, it looks like he may, not take care of himself well. He might be doing drugs, or it's just not giving he's doing well. And, he talks later about, he says he's the one who let BTK in the house. Mind you, he's 5. He doesn't know. But that guilt, you carry that guilt with you for the rest of your life. So he's carrying it. And he's not carrying it well. I hope things are better now, but he was not looking great. And I wish the news wasn't all in his face. Because we got several different clips and moments of Steven talking to the news. And the news is just like, so your mother was brutally murdered by BTK. How did that make you feel? Like, leave this man alone. You see he's not doing good. Please. Anywho, Lady News comes back being extra dramatic. She doing the Cynthia Bailey talking to Kenya about Velvet's death, or the Beyonce winning country music album of the year, whatever it was. And she's like, what was he gonna do next to get publicity? He's gonna kill. I don't know why that would have been a question, Lady News. He's gonna kill. That's the thing he's been doing the whole time. And he keeps saying, how many people do I have to kill? Because he's going to kill. Like, she really was just there because she was the news anchor back at that time, but she didn't give us much. She was just being dramatic for the sake of being dramatic. Anyway, BTK sends another letter, and I'm like, okay, BTK finally got a computer. Because it's no longer, typewriter. And it's a piece of paper that, you know how copy paper, when you print it, sometimes it gets that line down the middle. It had that line. I was like, oh, yeah, he got a printer. Work. Well, don't work. But, moving on to the 21st century. And he sends a letter to the news station, I guess, again. And he's talking about the BTK story. And he has, chapters like titles written out, but no chapters. And it's just like, okay, Diva, if you want to write the book, write the book. Here come Lady News again with her ridiculous commentary talking about nobody knew if he wanted publicity that badly. And then there's a pause. That he would kill again. Yes, everybody knew that. What do you mean nobody knew? Yes, if he wanted publicity that badly. Yes. Because of the fact that he said, how many people do I have to kill to get a little commotion for the dress? I'm not understanding. He keep telling y'all, and y'all keep acting like, I just don't know. Everybody cease. Stop it right now. So the FBI is to the news station, I guess, keep him communicating and make him feel comfortable if you want to catch him. And at this point in my notes, I'm like, if I remember correctly, that's exactly what got him caught up. Because I didn't skip to the end of the Wikipedia. I just wanted to get the names correct. So I didn't go and look at how they caught him. But I've heard, of course, the story of the BTK. But I've also heard a lot of different other, serial murderers. So I was like, is this the one that... But yes, this is the one that... And we'll get back to it. So Lady News is back. And she's gagged because she's like, he was doing things to let us know that he was watching the news. Because one night I had mentioned that my co-host Jeff and I had a cold. And 2 days later, and she holds up 2 fingers, we got a letter that said, sorry about Susan and Jeff's colds. Ma'am. Of course he's watching the news. He keeps telling y'all. He wants publicity. Why does she keep acting gagged? He been said, how many people do I have to kill to get a little commotion? National news. What's not clicking for her? Susan, girl. Anywho, then she says she still gets scared talking about it. And I do hope she has a therapist because, the fear is real. But I'm just not understanding why she's not understanding that, yes, the man wants the publicity. Anyway, he sent a letter to the police department and the news team sent a reporter and a photographer. And I'm like, what if it was a trap? Why would you send them to their demise like that? Let the police get there first. Because the news people, Miss Susan, was like, oh yeah, we sent them out there. They got there before the police. No, I can't be on the news. I can't work for the news because no. And in the letter, he said there will be a cereal box at this location. They get there, it's a cereal box. And inside, a Barbie doll with a noose around its neck. And again, everybody is gagged. Like this is not the bind, torture, kill cereal man. Like, it's a cereal box. It's a doll, bound. What's not? Everybody's just so gagged. And I'm just like, no, he does the killing. Because he's the killer. And the letter regarding the cereal box. He sends, this is so ridiculous. He sends a letter, the same letter. And he asked the people, if I send y'all a floppy disk, will y'all be able to trace it? Be honest. It's the be honest that just, what do you mean, be honest? Why would we tell the truth to the serial killer? Like, sir. And he was like, just put in the newspaper tomorrow, like, it's cool. If it is. If not, be honest. Like, so they put in the news, baby. They lied to that man and told him, no, you good. We not gonna see nothing. And so he sends a disc. And it's just like, how dumb. How dumb. And this is where I got thrown off earlier. Because I was like, this is 2004 or 2005. This is 2005, as I've come to realize. The girls weren't using floppy disks like that in 2005. We had moved on to CD-ROM. I remember. I was there. We had a DVD player in 2005. I was watching, I can't even... Beyonce's first movie that I refuse to talk about. That's not Goldmember or Carmen or, But anywho, we had a DVD player. Why is he on floppy disk? God bless. Anyway, of course, they tracked the metadata on the floppy disk because he's stupid. And find out he's using this floppy disk down to the library, down to the house of the Lord. He at the Lutheran church using that computer to type up his foolishness. And we coming back to the church. But why are you typing up your serial killer letters down to the church at the house of the Lord? I know God wasn't pleased. He's not pleased in general. But at his house, foolish. So they're like, they read the metadata and find out that there's a username on the disc and it's Dennis. So, of course, they look at the records. It's a Dennis that goes to this church. We know that's him. But the people, I think it was the FBI, was like, well, we have to know for sure. So what do? This stressed me out so bad. They went down to the daughter's college, went to the health center, and was like, hey, y'all got any of Carrie DNA up in here? And they said, well, yes, she had a pap smear done. And they give the police the pap smear information. I would have felt so very violated. Not the FBI got my pap smear and they comparing my pap smear to the BTK serial murders. And they come back, that's my daddy. Child. Violation. Everybody go to prison. Because what? Oh, that would have pressed me. And she even says later, yeah, that pressed me. I was angry. I felt violated. As she should. Like, oh my God. My pal? Terrible. So the news people were listening to the police scanner and they get ready to pick up Dennis Rader, BTK. And that irks me because the news people send out some reporters. And so now the reporters are out here where the police about to be to pick up Dennis Rader. And it all went okay. But there have been many times that news reporters completely throw off an investigation because imagine Dennis Rader pull up to his house or get ready to. And it's 15 news trucks outside his house. He gonna well, let me get on. The news people got on my nerves so bad. Move. Anyway, I looked at how much time we had left at this point, and in my notes, I type and I read verbatim. Why are there still 45 minutes on this documentary? I would like to know that. I really would like to know that. Because I was ready to wrap it up. Y'all got him. Put him in jail. Let's go. They pull him up on his lunch break. Mr. Policeman slams him to the ground. And he's so proud that he did that. Congratulations, sir. And then he says that BTK turned to him and said, will you tell my wife I won't be home for lunch? Everybody stop. Everyone stop immediately. This is when Miss Daughter says she felt violated about the DNA situation and the pap smear. Yes. Yeah. And then we find out the man had a kill kit just in the closet in the house. And then he had in his shed trophies, jewelry, bondage type beats, and all of these things. And then they asked the wife, hey, Miss Wife, Miss TK, did you know BTK was BTKing? And she's like, no. And, like, I kind of believe her, but, like, I don't know, girl. Check up on your nigga. Like, if he out in that shit, go see what he doing. Like, hello? Because at one point, the daughter was like, he used to carry around this bowling bag, but he didn't bowl. I would ask my man, like, hey, what you got this bowling bag for? What's in there? Like, maybe I would have got murdered, but I would have died knowing. Like, and then Agent Body Slam Man starts telling the story about Mr. and Mrs. Torture Kill as if he were in the room. Because he's like, the closest she ever came to knowing is they were watching the news and they read one of the letters and she said to him, BTK writes just like you. And he didn't say anything. How do you know? Were you there? Was the house bugged? Were you hiding under the couch? Like, what's going on here? And then we see interrogation footage and BTK just sitting there eating chicken strips and fries while they interrogating him. And he's like, well, you got me. And they're like, well, do you want to know how we caught you? And he's like, well, yeah, I guess so. Like, he really don't care. He really just chilling. And they're like, do you know what this is? And he's like, a floppy. Because it's the floppy disk. And he's like, so there's this thing called metadata that the people had to put on there because of child SA, situations. And so we caught you because of the metadata. And he was just like, oh, okay, well. And then they're like, tell us who you are. Say it. And then he's like, no. And they're like, are you BTK? He's like, yeah. And they're like, so you are BTK. And he's like, yeah. And then they say he started spilling it all. They didn't show us him spilling it all, but hey, whatever. They show us a little moment of when there are two other ladies that demised under him. That doesn't sound correct. Demise. Met their demise due to him. Whatever. Two other ladies. So he starts talking about them. He said, oh, I had some free time that evening. I killed her on a Friday night. Sir. No, this is not okay. Oh, I had a little free time. Let me go do a murder. So that was January 19th, 1991. He abducted and unalived Dolores Davis. God rest her. She was an older woman. Like, not old, but, like, probably 60. She was a golden girl. Rude. And at this time, the daughter tells us that Mrs. TK was sick in the hospital for nearly 2 weeks with pneumonia. Mr. BTK was at home trying to raise the kids and he couldn't cook and he couldn't do things right. So I guess he got frustrated and went and unalived Miss Dolores. Like, can he just take up boxing or something? Go to the shooting range? Dang. Then we find out that the car that he gave his daughter in high school to drive was the same car that he unalived Miss Dolores in. Or not in, but transported her body. And I'm just like, rude. Don't give me the kill car. Rude. And then we find out about Miss Maureen Hedge. She was their next door neighbor and she went missing when the daughter was 6. And he, did her in. It's crazy. One of these ladies, I can't remember exactly which one. One of these ladies, he took to the church and undressed her, redressed her, tied her up, something. And I'm just like, hello? At the church? God is not pleased. He's not. And then we back to Steven and the news. And it's like, leave this boy alone, please. And then I look at the timer and there's still 30 minutes of this documentary. So we finna zoom through this. So the daughter started writing him letters. He wrote back talking about he don't know if they gonna go for insanity or not. No, this man is sane. And then Lady News come in talking about, we thought it was over when he pled guilty. But no, he went into detail about every killing. Well, yes, that's how they determine if he's truly guilty. Like, ma'am, he's gonna have to talk about what he did. That's how court works. Anyway, one of the young ladies that he unalived, he talking about, it was the first one, I think. He tried to strangle her. It wasn't going as planned, so he stabbed her. And then he's talking about, well, she was struggling after I stabbed her, and so I went to get her a glass of water and comforted her. Sir! You're the reason of her passing. And then you turn around and, oh, you want some water? I'm so sorry I stabbed you. Are you thirsty? You're bleeding out. You've got to start, hydrated. Hello? I'm telling you, this man irked me. And then he turns around and says that the killings were to fulfill a sexual fantasy. Now, we never really got into the sexual aspect of things up until like an hour and a half into this documentary. But like, imagine being that man's wife and you find out his sexual fantasy is to bind, torture, and kill. Like, oh my God. You never know who you with. You never know. You simply never know. So anyway, during the trial, BTK writes his daughter and tells her there are worse things coming. What's worse? You're accused and have admitted to killing many women. What's worse? And the worst is they done rolled out a bunch of pictures. Child, he naked in his parents' basement. He got nylon stockings over his head. He dressing in the victim's clothes. And all the victims, aside from the Otero family and the brother Kevin, I can't remember the last name, I'm sorry. All of the victims were women. So not you got nylon stockings and a woman's dress on down to the basement of your parents' house. Like, hello? This is not okay. And then the documentary shows us the pictures. This man is upside down hanging from a tree. He's in these dresses. He's tied up. He wrapped up in plastic. And I'm just like, what is this? What's going on? Hated it. And then the documentary fooled me real bad. Because all of a sudden I hear the dime diva, my mother herself, the top, icon, Mother News, outside of Barbara Walters, Diane Sawyer. I hear her talking and I'm like, oh, the diva's here. But no, it was just a quick little voiceover. I really thought we was at least gonna see the diva. No, I'm sitting here like, oh my God, it was all worth it because Diane ain't even here. Sit. Then we see, we're still in court, the victim impact statements. And I'm literally sitting here watching them. And I'm about to cry because these people really lost their families to, for some reason, fulfill this man's sexual fantasies. Like, what is going on? And he down to the church with it. That's what's really like, you don't know who your deacon is. You don't know who your pastor is. You just got to pray. Because what's going on? And while they're giving their impact statements, BTK ass sitting there crying, wiping his eyes, sir. So then the judge asked him, black judge asked him, do you have anything to say? And the victims' families, who are victims themselves, when he's getting ready to speak, they get up and leave the room. They're like, we don't want to hear a thing he has to say. And so he says he's sorry or whatever. And black judge is like, okay, great. 175 years in prison. And I'm like, you know what, black judge? Give him 166 just for good measure. Because he's still alive. He might live at 175 or 165. Give him one more year, just in case. And then the daughter is like, I wrote a bestseller in, I think it was 2015. And I was like, oh, T, let me go bootleg it. Because one thing I'm going to do is bootleg a book. And low-key, high-key, I bootleg this documentary. Like, I'm not going to pay. Be for real. And then she's talking about how everybody bullies her because she's the daughter of the serial killer. And it's just like, stop bullying her. She didn't have nothing to do with this. Like, stop. They're literally like cyberbullying her because of her father. That's crazy. That's so crazy. The internet is so irksome these days. Like, why do you feel comfortable bullying somebody that had nothing to do with anything just because you were unhappy? That doesn't make sense to me. So now she says, like, she would rather not be in the spotlight anymore. And then she says something that kind of like, She says, my career is now tied to all of this. And it just kind of gave me, you want to be in the spotlight. You did all that hooping, all that hollering. And I understand that you probably do feel those emotions. But it also gives you want to be in the spotlight just a little bit more. That's what I, felt from that statement. That may not be true. But because you definitely had the choice not to be the face of the family, and you chose to be the face of the family. And I don't like that for you. If it's making you unhappy, I don't like that for you. But that is a choice you made. Ugh. I'm torn. Because it's just like, you did decide to be the spokesperson. And now you don't want the repercussions. And you don't deserve to be beat up for being his daughter. But you put yourself right in the line of fire. Because they can't cuss out BTK, but they can cuss you out. And people are that way. They tend to do things like that. When they can't get to the one they want to get to, they get to whoever's closest. And you have made yourself closest. I hate it. I pray for you. I hope things get better. But, diva, you got to back up out the limelight. Because this documentary ain't gonna make it no better. Then we get into something that's a little I didn't like. and we didn't get any resolve. But I will say, obviously, for this entire video, trigger warning. But for this part in particular, because it kind of deals in essay, because we're looking through the ledger, his book of, murder notes. I don't know. And she reads something that has like her name and bath and bondage game or something. And so now, mind you, there are only 12 more minutes in this documentary. And now we have this whole new mystery. But she's now sitting here like, did my father molest me? And I'm like, hello, we only got 12 minutes. And then she tells us how she used to have night terrors, about a bad man being in the house. And we don't get a resolve to this. We don't get an answer, truly. What we do get is, she says after 18 years, she goes to visit her father, and she takes law enforcement, and law enforcement tells her she can't bring up the possible essay. And I'm like, first of all, you don't tell me what to do. This my daddy. I mean, killer, but like, also, this my daddy. And even if he wasn't, you don't tell me what to do. Like, hello? But I'm that type of person. Like, you can't tell me what to do. People cannot tell me what to do. That irks me real bad. So she goes to visit her daddy. They tell her she can't bring it up. She tries to play their rules, and she doesn't for a while, but then he don't want to talk about the killings. He just want to have daddy-daughter day at the prison after being a serial killer. And she snaps, and she asks him, like, hey, why was I in your book? Why did it say this? And then she just said he snapped on her and started hollering, and then she randomly started having flashbacks of her life and PTSD. And then the documentary is over. And I'm like, okay. When she asks him, did you do this? He says, oh no, it was just a fantasy. I never, touched my family. Why would that have been your fantasy? Why is that your fantasy? And mind you, rewind back to kill number 3. When he walked up to Stephen, the 5-year-old, and held up a picture of his wife and daughter to identify if this is, if the child knew these people, so that he could find people that look like these people so that he may commit the murders. BTK is still alive. I pray by the end of this year he is not. Y'all stop bullying Carrie. That's it. Let me try to edit this and have it up, child, by Wednesday. And like, comment, subscribe, all the things the YouTubers say. And I will catch y'all when I catch